Na wird's bald!
6, 1, 2.
The story begins in 1942, Germany. Friedrich Weimer, the son of a poor factory worker, has just graduated from high school and dreams of studying further. However, his family's financial situation does not allow it. His father hopes that one day Friedrich will get a good position in a factory and live a better life than he himself ever had. Aside from doing small jobs, Friedrich loves boxing. He trains at the city's gym and is quite skilled. One morning, the boxing coach from an elite school known as Napola brings his students to the gym. Friedrich has to fight against one of them, a trained boxer. He shows remarkable ability during the match, which impresses the coach. Out of compassion for his opponent, Friedrich deliberately loses. Even so, the coach notices his talent and encourages him to apply to Napola. With his physical build and good health, Friedrich has a good chance of being accepted. Graduating from Napola would mean becoming one of the elite soldiers of the Reich and never having to worry about money. That afternoon, Friedrich applies for admission. He passes a series of medical and physical exams, and the officials confirm that he qualifies. The only step left is obtaining his father's signature of consent. When Friedrich shows the documents at home, his father immediately refuses to sign them and orders him to forget such absurd ideas. Friedrich loves his little brother dearly. He helps him with his bath while telling him what happened that day. Their father, reusing the same bathwater to save money, informs Friedrich that he will soon start an apprenticeship program, hoping to keep him away from the influence of the Nazis. That night, however, Friedrich says goodbye to his brother. In secret, he forges his father's signature and runs away from home. The next morning, his parents find a letter explaining that he has gone to Allenstein to join the Napola Academy. Enraged, his father smashes Friedrich's bicycle. Meanwhile, Friedrich hitches a ride and finally arrives at the Napola. The place, resembling a grand castle, leaves him speechless. The coach greets him and introduces him to his roommate, Albrecht Stein, who shows him around, teaches him how to organize his things, and asks him to meet in the auditorium after changing into his uniform. Wearing it for the first time, Friedrich cannot stop smiling. In the auditorium, the academy's headmaster welcomes the cadets, calling them the future elite. Throughout the speech, Friedrich smiles faintly, convinced he has made the best choice of his life, full of hope for the future and a promising career. After the ceremony, Albrecht introduces him to the rest of their roommates. They are friendly and welcoming, until the senior student and supervisor, Jotter, storms in. He punishes Friedrich by making him do push-ups because his wardrobe wasn't perfectly organized. That night, Friedrich struggles to sleep and notices an empty bed in the room. But when he tries to ask Albrecht about it, he learns they are not allowed to talk after lights out. The next morning, the sixth roommate arrives, Albrecht von Stein, the son of the city's governor, who has many high-ranking connections. He helps Friedrich fix his bed, and the two soon become close friends. Training begins under the cruel instructor, Colonel Cotton. When one of Friedrich's roommates wets the bed for the second time that month, he is forced to carry his mattress outside and urinate on it in front of everyone, enduring humiliation for something he cannot control. Meanwhile, Jotter feels proud of his authority and cruelty. Later, in class, the cadets study Hitler's speeches, analyzing his words and writing essays about his so-called wisdom. Darwin's theory of the survival of the fittest is taught as a natural way of life. This ideology is also used to rationalize the imprisonment and killing of Jews. The boys are trained to shoot and handle various weapons, with Friedrich working especially hard to impress the coach who placed so much faith in him. The trainer reveals that Napola once held the inter-school boxing championship title, much like Friedrich had in his own school's football team, but the academy has been losing for years. He pressures Friedrich to bring back the gold medal that same year. About a month after entering Napola, the cadets receive letters from their families. Friedrich gets a note from his mother, hoping he is well. Albrecht, however, receives several, of his own literary essays back from his parents, knowing they never bother to read them. Feeling sorry for his friend, Friedrich takes one of the essays and reads it, which strengthens their bond even further. One night, the two sneak into the servants' quarters and spy on a girl changing clothes. Luckily, she doesn't notice them, and the mischievous incident becomes another shared secret that deepens their friendship. As months pass, training continues. Finally, the day of the boxing competition arrives. Friedrich performs well, knocking his opponent against the ropes. To win, however, he must knock him out completely. Seeing that the boy has already given up, Friedrich hesitates in a moral dilemma, but this time he chooses victory. The crowd cheers for him, but Albrecht refuses to celebrate, believing it is unethical to beat someone who has already surrendered. Friedrich, however, is praised by his superiors, feeling on top of the world, until Albrecht later scolds him for being merciless. The next morning, their roommate Siegfried accidentally wets the bed again. Yoder, the senior cadet, threatens to report him to the trainer unless he pays a ridiculous sum of money. Desperate, Siegfried is given until dinner to come up with it. That same day, the cadets are taken to the field for grenade training. One boy mishandles a live grenade, activating it. The instructor, who always bragged about surviving the front lines, immediately flees, leaving the boys to die. In the chaos, Siegfried shows great bravery by throwing himself onto the grenade, sacrificing his life to save over 20 cadets. The next day, he is posthumously awarded a Medal of Honor for his courage. Friedrich finds it strange and bitterly ironic that the same boy once humiliated for wetting the bed was the one to act heroically, while the trainer, a supposed soldier, had shown cowardice. The cadets are furious at the instructor, who refuses to admit responsibility for what happened. During another training session, the boys are told to strengthen their muscles by punching each other in the stomach. Friedrich volunteers and delivers several blows, using the chance to secretly avenge Siegfried. Later, Albrecht invites Friedrich to his family's mansion to celebrate his father's birthday. The grandeur of the place leaves Friedrich speechless, but what strikes him most is how Albrecht's parents treat their own son with disdain. The governor prevents Albrecht from reciting a poem in public and dismisses everything he says. To him, poetry and writing are unmanly. He wishes Albrecht were more like Friedrich, who loves boxing. Drunk, the governor even forces the boys to fight. Friedrich, clearly the stronger boxer, refuses to attack at first, only dodging Albrecht's punches. Wanting to avoid pity, Albrecht demands a real fight. Friedrich reluctantly delivers a single punch, knocking him out. Everyone praises Friedrich, while Albrecht runs to his room in humiliation. Winter begins, and one night the cadets are urgently summoned by the headmaster. A group of Soviet prisoners has stolen weapons, killed locals, and escaped from a nearby village. The boys are divided into groups and ordered to hunt them down, rifles in hand, encouraged to shoot on sight. Once again, Friedrich and Albrecht end up in the same unit. After some time searching, they stumble upon people fleeing from a hideout and open fire, killing them. But as they look closer, the cadets are horrified. The so-called prisoners are nothing more than a group of children. Albrecht tries to save one of the children who is still alive, torn by an inner dilemma as he attempts to help. At that moment, his father suddenly appears and shoots the boy. Overwhelmed by guilt and disgust, Albrecht vomits, his mind filled with turmoil. The next day in literature class, the teacher asks the cadets to write a poem about winter. When Albrecht is called to read his work aloud, he begins by describing how his feelings about winter have changed since childhood. But the poem takes an unexpected turn. He condemns his father for killing defenseless children, openly challenging his principles. That night, the teacher escorts him to the headmaster's office, where his father is also summoned. The governor demands that Albrecht write a better poem the following day, but Albrecht refuses, insisting that his opinion will not change. As a result, he is expelled from the academy and ordered to serve on the Eastern Front. When Friedrich learns of this, he is devastated and cannot understand why Albrecht had to risk everything just to read his poem in class. Albrecht, however, tells him it brought him peace, and he has no regrets. The two argue briefly but end up crying in each other's arms. In the next training exercise, the cadets are ordered to dive into a hole in the frozen lake and swim across to another opening. Albrecht volunteers to go after tying a guiding rope for the others, but midway under the ice he stops. Friedrich frantically searches for him, finally spotting Albrecht beneath the surface. Their hands meet through the ice in a silent farewell, and then Albrecht drowns. Crushed with grief, Friedrich can do nothing but weep as his friends carry him back to the dormitory. That night, he writes an obituary for Albrecht and delivers it to the headmaster. The director, however, refuses to publish it, coldly stating that the obituary section of the paper is reserved for those who died for their Führer, their soldiers, or their nation. While mourning his friend, Friedrich's boxing coach urges him to focus on his future, reminding him that the final match of the boxing tournament is the next day. Even the governor is in attendance, smiling proudly, as if his son had never existed. Friedrich fights with all his strength in the first round, but seeing the governor's smug face robs him of the will to defend himself. He takes the blows, without resistance, losing the fight and humiliating the academy. The following day, Friedrich is stripped of his uniform and ordered to return to his room naked. He packs his belongings and leaves the academy for good. In the final scene, Friedrich walks back toward his hometown. A narration explains that by 1945, there were 40 Napola academies across Germany, with over 15,000 students. When the war was at finally lost, these young men were sent to the front lines, blinded by extremist ideology. More than half of them perished. That was today's movie. Subscribe and like to help an unemployed person. Comment anything. Until next time.